Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So this is my second video. Well, this is part 2 of my birth story. I'm talking about just how my birth went, the postpartum experience for me. I'm gonna put the link in the description box of my previous video, and then also I kind of been doing like a I guess you could say like a series, because I've been blogging as well. So I'm sorry for those of you, if this is your first time watching my videos. My name is Shanice Latiara, and basically I'm using my channel to kind of to talk about like motherhood, just trending topics like what's going on in the world today, but also natural living, because I'm starting my journey with, you know, just the holistic lifestyle. That's my son. And then I'm also going to be just blogging, you know, just talking about photography. So welcome to my channel. I hope you all enjoy this video. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and comment if you have, you know, something that you want to say, or something that, you know, you want to ask me, or anything like that. Constructive criticism is always welcome as well. So back to my video. This is part 2 of my birth story. The first video I left off on, I kind of just rushed through the end part of like after I had my son and what happened, but I'm gonna go back and go into a little bit more details, because it is, you know, this was over a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, but it's still just kind of like emotional for me to think about, because it really was a scary time of my life. And one of the things that I realized about being pregnant, about carrying a child, is that you really put your life on the line. And I don't mean to make it sound so dreadful, or I don't, it's not always a negative experience. You know, birth is a beautiful thing, but sometimes people don't have like a good pregnancy. Sometimes people don't have like a good, you know, sometimes they just have complications, and that's just life. So if you are watching this, don't get scared. Like, I'm just sharing my experience, all right? So where I left off in my last video, like I said, I'm gonna go back. So after I had my son, we did have to move. We had to move like right after I had my son. You know, the nurse helped me put on like the mesh panties. And any woman that knows about any woman that has given birth in the hospital, you know about the mesh underwear. And actually, if you watch my previous video, I think it was my previous video, or my video about I had to get this for my son, about my pregnancy. I talked about how I really wanted to have a water birth. So actually with the water birth, I had to actually buy, I was going to have it with my midwife, and I was going to have it at my house. So I had to buy like this package from this website where you kind of buy like the tub and everything, and I bought like the water hose. And also it was suggested to me to buy like the Depends, because they're better than like the mesh underwear. And with the mesh underwear, it's basically, it's different in the Depends. What's the matter? Here, there you go. It's different in the Depends because, and this is kind of a side note, but somebody wanted to be in the video again. Say hey. Good. He knows how to sign for milk, but he won't do it when he wants milk, but he'll do it now. He be your own kids. But what I was saying was that, so the mesh panties are different. It depends. Basically, after you have your child, there's like, it's like this big pad, but to me, it's not even like a pad. It's just like a, it reminds me of like the dog pad. So when you're trying to train them to use the bathroom, you just kind of lay it out. It's literally like that big. Now, I don't know, I think they have different sizes for the dog pads, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, it's basically just a square piece of thing, a pad or whatever. It's not like a regular pad that you buy from the store, but basically you have to kind of put it, you know, on you and put the mesh panties up. And the mesh panties are just so that I think it's just so that, like, especially if you have like a C-section, you don't want it to squeeze your stomach and stuff like that. So you kind of want to have a loose fit. But that's besides the point. I think I was saying all that to say that originally I had bought the pins because I was going to do a water birth, but when I was at the hospital, I had to use the mesh underwear, and the nurse was helping me put that on. And like I was saying, okay, like I was saying in the last video, I had to wear I had to put the ice pack even in the pad as well, or wore on top of the pad. So I was sitting on all of that, and it was just uncomfortable. But they put me like in a wheelchair, and I was holding my baby, and they pushed me into my new room. Now the new room was like half the size of the living room, so I'm not gonna say it was a bad hospital to be at, because obviously I've never really been to any other hospitals, because that's my first time giving birth. But I've heard that other hospitals have bigger rooms. But basically my room, it was like the bed, and then it was like a sink over here, and then it was like a sitting there over here and a sitting there and there, but it was like really compact. And then the bathroom was like right when you walked in. But being in the hospital, I really actually didn't get any sleep, because I think I stayed 3 days after my birth, because they had to make sure that my pressure was doing good, so they were giving me medicine. So the nurses had to come in like every so often, and then I had different nurses because they have to do their shifts. I would come in every so often. They would come in every so often, check my pressure. They would give me meds. They would also give me pain meds. They also gave me like a stool softener, because especially like when you tear, you just want to make sure that you're not constipated and trying to push that out. So I really didn't get no sleep. And then I don't think they even had like locks on the doors. So, people were just like walking in, not people, but like the staff there and the nurses, they would like walk in. They would like walk in and everything. And I do remember my son is not really bad as far as like crying, like a crying baby. He's a little bit more fussy now. But when we were in the hospital, we did play Adele's song, Hello. I think it was called Hello. And that's supposed to be a song that helped babies fall asleep. And I think it helped us just a little bit. But on to the other parts. So my pressure was doing good. And actually one thing that I was like really concerned about, I know I'm not the only one like this, so don't judge me. But I have a hard time swallowing pills, like especially like big pills. I'm a little bit better about it now. So when the nurse would come in and give me my medicine, I would ask, can I crush it up, including the blood pressure pill now. But then I came to find out another nurse was like, you're not supposed to crush those up, basically. And I'm just like, so, like, why? Like, why don't the other nurses know this? So I was a little concerned about that, because I'm just like, I could have had an adverse reaction maybe. I don't know. But anyways, like I said, I think we stayed in the hospital 3 days. And it was just I was just ready to get home, because it seemed like we were there forever. And then on top of that, if you saw my last video, I just talked about how I had like pain when I would sit down. So I had to sit a certain way or lay a certain way in the hospital bed. And then on top of that, like I couldn't really like lay down all the way, because it was just uncomfortable wearing like the pad and the mesh panties. So when they finally released us, I was just like, finally, because it just seemed like we were there forever. We had to, they did actually move me to another room after that, and that was a little bit bigger because they had 2 bedrooms in there. And then I also had problems with, I also, like I said, I had problems with swallowing like big pills. And so I felt like the nurses, I'm not saying that they were mean, but I felt like they could have been a little bit more understanding, because they were like, okay, you gotta swallow this pill. And I'm just thinking like, I know I have to swallow the pill, but it's not easy for me to swallow. And the other experience I had, it's like, boo, it's like, you gonna mess up your eyes looking straight into it. The other experience I had was that, I obviously I like an IV on. They had to give me like antibiotics. Actually, I'm sorry, I went too far. I went too far. So when we got released, we went home, and like a couple of days later, I woke up. Actually, this part, I just believe that it was nobody but God. So I believe that it was nobody but God that was like watching over me, because I just woke up out of nowhere. Like it was almost like something woke me up. It was like I was shocked out of my sleep, because I woke up and it was, I don't remember exactly what time it was, but I know it was late at night, and I had fell asleep with my son. But I woke up and I was just like, I don't feel good. And it wasn't like I could really explain what was going on, but I was just like, I just don't feel good. Like, I feel different. And so my husband was just like, let's check your pressure. So when we checked my pressure, it was like 198/100. So we were just like, we got to go back to the hospital. And I think I had told my midwife, and she was like, yeah, I got to go back to the hospital. So we went back to the same hospital that I was admitted to, and where I had to be induced. So when I went back, they did give me more blood pressure medicine, and basically they had to test me again to make sure that I didn't have like because I had went before. If you watch my other video, you'll see I had went before because I had protein in my urine and my blood pressure was high. So they checked my urine again to make sure that, you know, it wasn't no protein. It wasn't protein, it was just my blood pressure. So I think what they did, because this is what I gathered. No, I can't put it in my mouth. This is what I gathered from what happened. Even though I didn't have eclampsia, I think that's how you say it. Well, normally people say preeclampsia, but I think it's after you had a baby, you have eclampsia. Actually, hold on, let me see what it's called. Okay, so I found out how you say it. It's eclampsia. So they were treating me as if I had eclampsia, even though I didn't have eclampsia, because they were like, your blood pressure is still rising. So they were like, okay, usually we do a magnesium treatment, and basically I just get magnesium, and magnesium is just kind of like a muscle relaxant. Muscle relaxer. I don't know what's going on with my words, but and I actually take magnesium now for like anxiety, but yeah, they had to basically put magnesium in my IV for 12 hours, and they moved me to like this big room, or they put me in this big room, and I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, so I had to make sure I ate something before then. And then I was just kind of worried because, you know, obviously when you first have your child, like your milk supply has to like regulate and stuff like that. So, but they were like, you can still breastfeed even while you're having treatment. So I was like really nervous. I was really like scared and like anxious, because I was like, because the way the nurse was explaining it, she was like, it's a muscle relaxer. I'm looking at my phone. It's a muscle relaxer, and basically she was like, you can't have anything to eat because sometimes it relaxes, like, I guess your stomach muscles, and you may like vomit some stuff up, but then it might come back down the wrong hole. And she was like, we don't want that happening or whatever. So when she said that, I was like scared, because I'm thinking, like, what if this happens to me? Like, is anybody gonna be in the room, like, if I happen to vomit and stuff like that? And then but the nurse was like, oh, we do this all the time. So I'm like, okay. So I think the only reason why my blood pressure going up was because I had anxiety about the whole situation. But so yeah, after I had the treatment, I was asking questions. I was like, is this gonna make me feel sick or something? Is it gonna make me feel nauseous? Because I had enough of feeling nauseated, and I just had enough of like having a fear of gagging and vomiting while I was pregnant. So I'm just like, I need to be prepared if this is gonna have me feeling nauseous. And she was like, no, not really. It might make you feel tired. I actually didn't feel any difference when I was undergoing the treatment. But after it was over, I could eat again. And then this might be a little bit of TMI, but so I had a catheter in, and because obviously I couldn't get up during the treatment. And like I said, it was 12 hours straight of just no food, no water, and having like, the magnesium in my body. That's my son again. But yeah, what was I saying? So what I was saying was that after it was over, I could eat again. And what I was saying was that I had a catheter in, and I noticed that I smelled like women. We know when we just off down there. So I noticed that I smelled, and it just smelled like it actually smelled like something dead, to be honest. And this is like my first time sharing this, but at the time I was like, this just doesn't seem right. I wonder why I'm smelling. Like, that's what I was thinking in my mind. Like, why do I smell? So let me tell y'all how good God is. They were actually finna to discharge me from the hospital, but then this lady comes in, and I don't know what the exact title of the people in the hospital that do this, but she's kind of like the person that comes in and she takes you to, like, if you have to go get tested, she'll put you in your wheelchair and take you there. So she comes in and she's like, are you ready for your ultrasound? And I'm just like, what's going on? Like, ultrasound? Like, I didn't know I was supposed to be getting an ultrasound. And she was like, well, it says here that you're supposed to be getting an ultrasound, so I came to get you. So they had to help me take the catheter out. They had to help me. Actually, I think did I have the catheter in me? I think I actually had to take the catheter with me. And that was just such a weird feeling to be sitting down, like, while that was in me or whatever. If I remember correctly, I had to take it with me and sit in that wheelchair with it. But nonetheless, I went to go get an ultrasound. Ultrasound came back. They left placenta. The doctor didn't get all the placenta out, right? So now I'm like, oh my God, like, that's why my pressure was going up. So for those of you that don't know, after you have your baby, you're supposed to, and this is something that I didn't know. Like, I had no idea before I got pregnant. I did not know this was even a thing. But after you have your baby, you actually deliver the placenta. So the whole thing is supposed to come out, right? And they actually push down on your stomach, which can also hurt. Even after you have your baby, you're still hurting. So they push down on your stomach to kind of push the placenta out, right? So, what? Here's my husband coming in here with the baby because he walked away. I knew he was fine though. But yeah, the doctor did not get all the placenta out. Now, it's been some time since this has happened. I wish that I would have, at the time, I was just trying to like settle into my new life. So, although I was kind of upset, like, that this happened, and I don't know if this is like even a normal occurrence. I'm still doing like my research on this, but I think my husband actually talked to a lawyer about, seeing if there was something that we could do because I could have died. And the fact that the thing is, like, if the doctor hadn't ordered that ultrasound, I would have went back home and I would have still had these issues, and they would have been like, well, we gave you the treatment and stuff, like we gave you medicine, so like I would have had to come back if that doctor had not ordered the ultrasound. So what I actually want to do is I actually want to go back and look at my files and see which doctor ordered the ultrasound, because it's certain things I don't remember but my husband remembers. So I'm just like, maybe I was just out of it after I had my son. But he said that the doctor did come in and tell me about the ultrasound, but I was like, I don't remember that. All I remember is the lady coming in and asking me about the ultrasound, and I'm like, I don't remember that. So I just feel like it was nobody but God, these two instances where there was like an intervention happening. But yeah, so I actually had to have when they found out that the placenta was left in me, I actually had to have a D&C. I forgot what that stands for, but basically, I had to get a spinal tap, which is like the epidural, but the spinal tap, it numbs your legs all the way down, like from your hips all the way down. So I literally could not feel anything. I really literally, actually I think it numbs like your waist and your legs. Like it numbs from your waist all the way down, because my legs literally felt like cement. Like I couldn't lift them or anything. I couldn't feel them. So what a D&C is basically a surgery, and they had to go in and basically like kind of like suck the rest of the placenta out. So I was also nervous about that because first of all, I didn't want to get an epidural. So to get like another, well, like I said, it was a spinal tap, but to get that again, get something stuck in my back again, I was just like, oh my God, like I was really like shaking in there. And here is the kicker. I don't know what it was about that day, but I felt like everything was off. And I don't know if maybe because I was a black woman, they weren't treating me as a value, because the first thing was the hospital I went to, they are they're kind of like a emergency hospital, where they get like a lot of emergency situations happening. So a doctor actually came to me and told me that, they wanted to keep the ER open. So they were going to push my surgery up into the morning. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, but I was about to die. Like I could have died, and you telling me that my situation is not an emergency. Like I need to get this out of me like right now. So I did have to wait in the morning, and I was like, Lord, please don't let them reschedule this, because I don't want there to be complications when I need to have this surgery now. So they did end up doing that. And like I said, it just seemed like so much was off. And I don't know if maybe because I was a black woman, because you do hear a lot of stories of like black women going into the hospital, and like because we're black, or because she was black, we're not treated of importance. We're not treated like we matter. So so the other thing was I did have the doctor come to me and explain, because I was curious and I want to know. I don't want y'all just doing stuff on me. So I did ask, I just want to know what's going on. And then the doctor did come to me and explain to me what was going to happen. So I was like, cool. And it was a white man, so I was like, cool. That's all I want to know. Then, if I remember correctly, they didn't even take me to the normal, I don't know if maybe the other rooms were like occupied or whatever, but from what I remember, they didn't even take me to like the regular surgery room that they usually take people to. But I was there, and then they realized that I hadn't signed some paper. I don't know if it was a disclosure form or something, but I'm in the surgery room like signing papers. So I was like, okay, this does not make me feel any better. And then even the doctor that came in and talked to me, he was like, I don't know, usually it doesn't take us this long, because he told me it was going to be like 15 minutes. But I was in there longer than 15 minutes. But he even told me, he was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is taking so long. It usually doesn't take this long. So when he said that, I became even more nervous, and my blood pressure just kept rising and rising, you know. Oh man, had to get it off my phone. But total distraction. But yeah, so I had the surgery, and then actually, y'all, I just remember like bits and pieces, to be honest. But I think there was, so I think I was like at a teaching hospital too, because there was like an instructor that came in or something like that, that was like helping the one that was doing the surgery. But it really was uncomfortable because you can kind of, it didn't hurt, but you can kind of, you felt pressure of her going in and like sucking the stuff out. So why are you grabbing my feet? So after that, I was back into my room, and I think that like the next day, well, okay, they had to move me to a smaller room, which it was still kind of pretty big because they had two beds in there. So in that room, I had another experience where, so the nurse that was on duty, she was like doing my IV because I had to get antibiotics for the surgery. I had to get it afterwards, and so the machine kept going off. So I'm looking up at the machine, and it was like, I forgot the exact message, but it was just like bubbles in the line. Air, no, it said air in the line, and it kept beeping. So I'm thinking like, okay, are you gonna do something about that? Like, I don't want air in my. It was bubbles in my IV. Now I'm not a nursing student or a doctor or anything, but and maybe I had the wrong understanding. But from what I knew, you should not have air or bubbles in your line. So I was afraid at the time. I did ask afterwards, like I asked a few people, like, is it okay if you have bubbles in your line? Like, is it okay? And for the most part, from what I've learned, is that it's okay to have bubbles just as long as it's not like a lot of air. So I actually told my husband to like unscrew it because I'm scared, like, and I felt like she wasn't really listening to me. She was like, oh, it's okay. That's all she said, and I'm just like, but the machine keeps going off and telling you that there's air in my line. And she was like, no, it's okay. And that's all she said. And I'm just like, but the machine keeps going off. So I'm like, you're not gonna kill me today. Like, not today. So I was just scared. And I think if she would have took the time to explain to me, like, hey, I know you're worried, or even if like, I'll go get a new one or something like that, that would have helped me to calm down. But just her telling me like it's okay, it did not calm me down. It did not make me feel better. So when she left, I'm like, babe, take this out of my arm because I'm scared. So he took it out, and all of the medicine like spilled on the floor. And it's not funny, but I'm just like, I was just scared at the time. So I was just trying to like, I was like, I guess desperate, like I'm trying not to die today. So when she came back, she saw it, and she was just like upset, and she was like, ugh, like basically had an attitude, and she walked back out. So she never came back, right? She never came back until I think her shift was again, until her shift started again. But the doctor that, like the head doctor that was on rotation that day or whatever, she did explain to me like, it's not a problem if there's bubbles in your line, just as long as it's not, she said your main artery or something like that. I don't know. But also, I was just like really scared, to be honest. I was really anxious. So I asked the doctor, I'm like, can I have another ultrasound to make sure like everything is gone, because they missed it the first time. So, I'm just scared. And she goes, well, I don't really have time to do that today, but I think you're just anxious. So I think it's just your anxiety. And so I'm just kind of like, okay. So I wish I would have spoken up for myself. But at the time, you're just kind of ready to get it over with. So we did eventually leave the hospital, and I was so glad. And I've been on blood pressure medicine ever since. That, like I said, that experience was just a scary time in my life. because, well, first of all, just knowing that my blood pressure was affected. I've never had issues with blood pressure before. So just knowing that it was affected in that way, that was scary to me. And I have to do like follow-ups with my doctor every so often. I'm still on blood pressure medication. It's like a year later, but my blood pressure is doing so much better. And my doctor, when I first saw her, I think like the first 6 weeks on the medication, my blood pressure was not doing as bad as it was. So she was like, "This is a good sign," because usually when women have issues with their blood pressure due to pregnancy, she's like they usually have that for the rest of their lives. So I just been praying and really like just speaking over my life, like I'm not gonna have an issue with my blood pressure. But it's definitely been back to normal now, and I just can't wait to get off this medication. So yeah, like I said, I have follow-ups with my doctor every now and then. The last one I had, I think, was maybe like last month or the month before, and I have one in like 3 months. So first it started off with me seeing her every 6 weeks, and then it was like every 2 months, and then it was like every 3 months. So yeah, so that's pretty much my birth story. As you can see, a lot happened. I am that might be for another video, but yeah, that was a very emotional and scary time in my life, and it still is. Like I said, my blood pressure is doing better now, but especially first when I got on the medication, I was still having a lot of anxiety about it. So I'm much calmer now, thank God. And I just thank God that me and my son made it out of the hospital. And I also know, I also know when I spoke to my husband about it, he was just like, he felt it was hard for him because he felt like he couldn't do anything. But yeah, I hope you all have enjoyed this. If you have any other questions, if you have any questions or have any comments, you can leave it in the comment section. Also, I just hope that this brings awareness. I actually, from my experience, I actually want to see what can I do so that this doesn't happen to anybody else. So if you guys have any resources or anything, or know anybody I can talk to, just let me know. All right, y'all. See y'all later.